Gentlemen, welcome back to Agohp Real, where we share unedited, real content today from the jungle of Mexico. And I'm here sitting in one of my 12 villas in Tulum, Mexico, that I've built, sometimes even with my bare hands. All right. So this is what I want to speak to you guys about: how I built this $6.5 million project, what I've learned from it, and some insights, how I've done it, and what I've learned from it specifically. This is really important. The lessons that we learn from creating things are the most important things for life. Remember that always. So I moved here specifically during the pandemic, when the world was in lockdown and in chaos, and this place was, well, really a sanctuary. It was the only place in the world without masks, the only place where you didn't do any tests, no jabs were required, nobody bothered you, there was no stress. It was honestly a dream. So obviously I left London because London was dead. In Spanish we would say, Londres está muerta. London has fallen, London is killed, it's dead. So yeah, that's how it was back then. There's some truth to it now as well, again. So going back to Mexico, I moved here on the 5th of December, 6th of December 2020. I hopped on a flight to Mexico. Obviously, I never intended to do business here. I don't speak any Spanish. I don't know the country well. I don't know the laws. I don't know anybody here really. So I just moved here, similar like when I moved to the UK in 2015. But the difference was, when I moved to London, I intended to stay. Here, I literally came for a week. But after a week, I extended and moved Airbnb apartment. And after a week, I moved to another Airbnb apartment and another Airbnb apartment and another Airbnb apartment. Yada yada. 5 years later, I was still here. Well, so after 6 months of enjoying life and taking care of my body and my health, because this is the first thing I learned here in the jungle, while I couldn't excel in business, as the industry that I've been very good at and invested and experienced in was shut down by the pandemic. It was destroyed by the pandemic completely and entirely. It has never recovered and it never will. Vacation rental is over. So I simply focus on my health. I focused on my body and I started training. That's where I got my biceps and my stronger chest, and I learned how to fast, eat once a day, not eat for 2-3 days, etc., etc. This was the first 6 months, until I got really, really good at that and really disciplined about my diet. And I saw how Tulum is booming and how one building after the other is popping up everywhere. I saw an opportunity, started looking for architects, started looking for partners. And yeah, that's when I decided I'm going to buy this land that I'm sitting on today. And I put a deposit down at the agency and proceeded with the purchase. I didn't have the full money required to do the project myself. So I flew around the world. I flew to the US, I flew to Europe, UK, and the UAE, and brought an investor group of 5 together. And we all met in Odessa, Ukraine, actually celebrated one of the investors' birthdays. And this was really the moment when everybody decided to come on. I also invited everyone to my 30th birthday here in Tulum. It was spectacular. I celebrated for 72 hours, a 3-day party on a yacht, a private villa in a cenote. We didn't sleep much, but we partied hard. This was also the last time I drank alcohol, which is almost 5 years ago. Time runs extremely quickly, especially when you're busy. So meeting in Odessa in August, that was 2021, August 2021, that's when every investor came on board. And this is actually where all this work that I put in from March until August. This was my preparation period for the project. This is when everybody signed the joint venture agreements and deposited the funds to purchase the lot. So my holding deposit finally wasn't lost, not dust in the wind. We secured the lot. I flew back to Dubai to finalize my residency, and then in September I came back here. We purchased the lot, I completed all the escrow payments, handed over documents at the notary and with the lawyers here locally. And we actually started the same month digging on this land that I sit on here. All of this process, it was the first time ever that I've done business in this part of the world. It was really important how to structure things. So I looked over Panama, I looked at the US, I looked at other offshore entities, and I decided that the US holding will be the best for everyone, as there is a strong tax benefit for non-US residents or citizens, which basically means it's zero tax, by the way. So I have a zero tax infrastructure for this project for the profits generated in America, which is absolutely awesome. So I've obviously set all this infrastructure up properly. Things had to get notarized, apostilled, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, everything was set in September, and we started digging to find the right partner to work with locally who manages the construction. You need a good construction company and a good architect, which you find through making a competition. So you send messages to multiple options and they come back with their proposals and ideas. What would they like to create? I ended up working with a Mexican architect who had a very strong partnership with a construction company, and it was a great decision, as they have delivered incredible results compared to all the other buildings here in Tulum. Going back to September 2021, we started construction, we had the right setup, my investors had the right payment plans, and this is when we started building the first villas, which are here on the left side. The first 6 villas. First you have to create the foundation, and as we didn't have any infrastructure here like electricity, internet, fiber network, running water, we built our own water filtration and canalization system. So pump water up, clean, filter, use, and then on the way out, again, it's getting cleaned and filtered and released back to nature. We do not let any sewage drop, not one drop of sewage goes into the natural water here again. Interesting fact, guys, when you ever asked yourself, why is Quintana Roo, this part of Mexico, so green? It's because the meteor that killed and destroyed the civilization of dinosaurs, it hit here in the Mexican Sea, just above Cancun, and pieces of this meteor created a lot of underwater holes when it hit, right? And the seawater rushed through these holes and created more and more and more tunnels underwater. Specifically here in Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, there's over 2,000 underwater rivers. So even though it barely rains, we always have sun here. It's one of the greenest places on earth. There is rainforest vegetation basically, but all the water comes from underground, which is super cool. Super cool fact to know. This is why it was so easy to have our own water supply here. We just digged minus 50 meters, created a well, and this is where we pump up our fresh water. Then we have our own osmosis system, which then cleans and filters the water to the right mineral level for your skin, for your hair. It's even drinkable, right? So I do wash my vegetables, I do wash my berries, etc., the things that I need to wash before eating. I simply do this in the kitchen and everything is perfectly fine, right? That was really important for the setup. So we built the foundation and we built the electricity line was pulled here. It's also underground, and the fiber network, it took me around a year actually to complete that. which we also got done finally. Until that, we used Starlink. Starlink just rolled out literally when I started the project. So construction started. All my investors were on a monthly payment plan. As of construction, on a weekly basis, you pay for materials, you pay for your construction workers, and then you pay for the architectural office and the construction company on a weekly basis. Every Thursday I made these payments for around 2.5 years of the construction period. Guys, really interesting fact. Building here is relatively simple, but setting up a company, setting up a business account, a company account, and actually make payments on time, this was way more challenging. So because of the tax registration of the company and yada yada yada, I actually wasn't able to make payments from the company that owns this land for around 1.5 years. So I had to rent someone's business bank account and make payments through his business bank account for 1.5 years, which then meant I couldn't deduct the VAT of the construction costs of the first project. All the VAT deductions were lost, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars. So yeah, sucks. But these are the challenges that you have to deal with when you enter a country that is not as regulated and simplified like others. I obviously wasn't aware of that. There was ways around it, but I didn't know them. I didn't know the people who can fix it. Now I do know. But generally, large problem in Mexico. Massive red flag to do business here. So that's another thing I learned. I obviously got a lot of network and experiences here out of this project. So the first phase was relatively smooth. I would say the biggest challenge in phase 1 was that one of my main investors, one of my largest clients at the time, he was heavily invested in crypto and had huge startups in the crypto sphere. And we went into a bear market. The market crashed massively, so his liquidity was diminishing. So some of his payments came in late, to a point that he didn't pay anymore at all, right? So I was missing a lot of money suddenly to do my weekly payments. I had around 80 to 90 workers here on site. That was probably the biggest challenge at the time, as Tulum is very small, and there was a shit ton of work here, as thousands and thousands of new lots were being built everywhere at the same time. We had the airport, the international airport being built, a $20 billion train being built. So if you don't pay your workers here by the minute, on time, every Saturday or Friday latest, yeah, they will never come back. They're gone forever, right? So yeah, I fixed that. Actually, the first fix was that all the other 5 investors, they dipped into their pockets, including me, and we increased our share in the project to finalize everything, to finish it off. I couldn't have an empty or half-built construction site, right? I couldn't be a loser. We had to get out of this as a winner. We always do. So, but sadly, the investor lost his part in the project and is now just a minority shareholder. Anyhow, most importantly is he could save his business. I could save the project. He could save his business. He didn't run into any losses out of the financial shortcuts that were there at the time, and everything was resolved, luckily. So this was the biggest challenge in phase 1. When another massive challenge is the furnishing and decorating properties here, getting blackout curtains installed properly, like all these little details, getting a washing machine delivered here from a convenience store, like the largest convenience store in the country. You buy it in the store, you pay, and they simply don't deliver for 3 months. So I still today have some washer dryers that are missing in phase 1, and I'm in a quarrel and lawsuit with this convenience store because until today they haven't delivered. So, and I haven't got my money back neither. But anyway, these are the things you deal with in Mexico on a daily basis. It's the same for the curtains. It was extremely difficult and expensive to get full blackout curtains installed in all the villas. Very challenging. Another problem was sofa beds. It was almost impossible to get 12 sofa beds here. It took us 3 to 6 months to completely get it done. So ordering furniture was not an option, hence why we ended up doing all furniture handmade. The table I'm sitting at, everything behind me, all the beds, all the bedside tables, all the wardrobes, all the kitchen, actually everything has been handmade by local woodworkers, absolute specialists of their craft. I'm very grateful to have seen their work and find the people to work with at the end, as they have done a phenomenal job here. But because we had so many issues with ordering existing furniture, it's basically impossible to get them to Tulum. I don't know why, but it doesn't work. We simply created it by the good old hand. Good old handwork. So yeah, that's to phase 1. And when phase 1 was finally finished, we already bought the land of phase 2. I had the project plans ready, I had everything ready. But most of my investors were not happy to proceed with phase 2. They didn't have the money, or they weren't willing to put in the money. So I simply went ahead and wanted to do it completely by myself and just proceeded with it, and actually found one client who went 50% on the project with me, which was wonderful. So we ended up sprinting together by the two of us. And this is actually the most beautiful creation we have done here in phase 2. Sadly, again, this particular investor, during the process of construction, after around 5-6 months, he invested, I think, around $1 million. Again, money problems appear. Some people are, I don't know, it just happens, right? With the economy going up and down, cash flow changes. So right in the middle, after I spent around $1 million on this project, we were like 40% done. No money came in from him. So again, I had to fly around the world, make sure I find another $1 million. I think I needed 800,000 actually. Don't lie, Christian. 802,000 it was actually. So I did find that money externally from a new client who didn't want to be part of the project, but he gave us a loan at a very good interest rate for Mexico. Usually these loans are around 20%. We paid significantly less, luckily. So because at 20% a year, it's impossible to maintain like this project, unfortunately. But yeah, so there's a couple of things I learned, right, through this project, dealing with investors, dealing with people, who to work with in the first place, who not to work with, which money to take, which money not to take. There is actually toxic money in this world, right? There actually is. So you really need to think about all the pros and cons, who to work with, and you need to make sure you gather information on people's reputation before you work with them. That's something I've learned. Then also, doing business in a country you don't speak the language in. I didn't speak about this yet, but yes guys, I don't speak Spanish. Even today, after living here for 5 years and spending a lot of time here, I still do not speak Spanish, and I probably never will. As I'm a busy man, I don't have time. So construction going on here. So that was a major issue, even though I completed this project perfectly with all the issues that have arisen. Bank accounts closed, didn't allow us to open bank accounts, didn't allow us to pay. Now the bank that we actually have a bank account is under investigation by God knows what company, and our funds are frozen. I mean, it's always exciting to do business in Mexico, I tell you that, but is it professional? No. And this is the main point I've learned. Doing business in Mexico is unprofessional. Doing business in Mexico is extremely slow, especially in the southeast of Mexico. Workers don't show up to work. Workers get another job tomorrow, even if you fire them. Nobody checks their previous employee. Nobody checks for references. Nobody cares. They just got another job. So dealing with employees here is basically impossible. It's extremely hot. We haven't talked about maintenance. This is one of the most humid and hottest places in the earth, just 5 minutes off the ocean. So it's extremely, extremely difficult, totally hands-on, to actually maintain these villas, even though my villas are in perfect shape, because we work so hard on them 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. All the other properties, they're not doing so well, right? I've learned to build in humid environments, to work with concrete, aluminum and glass. No other material is going to be beneficial long term. It's very, very hard to maintain wood. If I would have known that before, I would have worked with less wood, even though there's less aesthetics. Simply because it's much easier to maintain. Perfect. So don't do business in a country you don't speak the language. Major lesson for me. Don't do business there. You will have it 1,000 times harder to solve problems. You'll have it way harder to build relationships. It will take way longer to build relationships. So this is one of the reasons why I moved to Dubai full-time again. Even though I'm there for 5 years as a second home, I've now made it my number one place to be. And yes, I'm already drawn to Russia again, and I spend a lot of time in Russia because I love Moscow. It's the best city in the world. But until I don't speak Russian, I'm not going to do any business in Russia. Maybe I buy some properties for myself, but I'm not gonna work with any clients in Russia. I'm not going to advise clients or manage people's money in Russia and advise them to do any business in Russia, right? And it's the same for Mexico. At this point, I do not recommend or have any customers here. I fully focus on the United States. I fully focus on the UK and Europe. I fully focus on the UAE. And UK and Europe is very much in the background because of their economic and political problems. But the number one place to invest for me right now is the United States. It's gonna be the place for a very long time. And when this recession comes and things are evened out, I'm really looking forward to it, for that little reset that we are waiting for in the next year or two. And then also the UAE will be priced at the right level. America will be priced again at an actual right level. And we can start generating proper wealth, generational wealth again together. So these are some stories from Mexico, many more to come. If you like this content, please subscribe, share these videos with your friends. Leave your comments below, like the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one of Agohp Real, unedited, long form content today from the jungle. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care.